What's up, guys? Today we have a clip of Andrew Wilson completely destroying a pro-trans activist.
Like, okay, so for example, like if somebody doesn't want to have children or like doesn't want to take care of the children, you know, or a cis woman doesn't want to take care of the children and wants to just work.
Just a woman, you mean?
A cis woman.
Woman.
Yes, a cis woman, yes.
What makes her cis?
Okay. The fact that her gender identity aligns with her sex.
What does that mean? Your gender identity. So if that's true, then
how do you perceive yourself?
What makes Alex white?
I don't know who that is.
The guy who's hosting the debate. What makes him white?
Oh, I didn't know your last name. Sorry.
His first name is Alex. What are you talking? It's in bold. It's in bold. His name is in bold. It's A-L-E-A. You can't miss it.
How the fuck am I going to assume that? I thought there's plenty of other people named Alex.
You
see Alex Jones? I'm going to assume that it's Alex, like him? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What makes Alex the guy whose name is
so
Alex
desperate, huh?
in a big bold letters, A-L-E-X? What makes him white? What makes him white, Nina?
Oh, I thought you were saying his last name was white. Jesus fuck, sorry.
Oh my god, this bitch is retarded. Like, what is going on? Wow.
Sorry. That's not at all what we were talking about. I was not misunderstanding, my bad. I thought you said what makes Alex white and then just like stop talking. What makes him white? Like what the fuck does that have to do with like your gender identity?
Well, because is it just an identity that he's white?
Well, I mean, whiteness in itself is more of a metric of like power. Like, as we know, obviously in the past, like even like Germans weren't considered white back in the day.
So
like,
can he
this
change?
Is like 101 stuff.
So, hang on. So can he change himself being white as an identity?
Okay, as I said, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about when it comes to.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
it does have
it's one
for one.
Wait, so you think that race is same as sex? That's
no,
what you're
Nina.
trying to argue
no,
right
Nina.
now. Yes, that's 100% what you're trying to argue right now.
I'm saying that biologically, if you think that white is not biological, but rather a social construction, and gender is just a status of identity and has nothing to do with biology, then I need you to tell me if you can change your gender, this socially constructed thing that we perceive women as. Can you change your race the same way?
In the same way as in how?
As in, can Alex begin to identify as a black man, and would it be true?
I mean, if we're gonna talk about like if he's like related to the black community, he can obviously have like a more of a feeling of more belonging to that group of people. But I don't know what you're trying to say with that. Like if we're talking about like does he identify as black? Like
can he get affirmative action?
Silly.
Can he get affirmative action if he identifies as black? Let's say he's raised in the black community, okay, and he has adopted the entirety of their culture and their norms,
oh my God.
And he identifies as being black. Can he get affirmative action?
He has a humongous schlong.
Yeah, can he get affirmative action, Nina?
I don't believe that is how that works. No,
that's not how it works. However, in your mind,
legally,
this gender role switch, you think that trans women should be considered actual biological. Hang on, let me finish, Nina. Let me finish.
No, but I'm talking about reality
Nina,
here. I mean, like you've been talking way more than I have. Come on, guys.
I'm just finish my point, and I'll give it to you. But let me finish my point.
Oh my God.
Nina, let me finish my point. So how this is one for one analogous is you think that trans women should be afforded all of the same rights as biological women. So I want to know if you think that people who just identify as a different race should also be afforded the same status as that race.
Rights? I think everyone should have the same rights. Absolutely. What the fuck?
So hang on. You think that woman is a legitimate protected class, right?
Is it? I don't know. Is it?
Yeah. Of course. They have their own sports leagues.
Woman
they have
is
their
a protected class.
They have their own sports leagues, their own gyms. They have their own everything.
I don't think you know what a protected class is.
What is it, Nina?
You're talking protected class is something you could like, like hate crimes.
Yeah.
That's what usually is considered under the protective class laws.
Yeah, like Christianity would be a protected class.
Yeah, sure.
Different races would be a protected class. Women would operate under a protected class. They're going to have different considerations for women when they apply for college, when they apply for STEM fields, when they apply for these different things. They have their own forms of affirmative action for women. They're a protected class. So what I'm asking you specifically is, if Alex can change his race, if race is socially constructed, if it's a social construct.
They're not a protected class.
Oh, man. Okay, fine, Nina. They're not a protected class. Either way, can Alex change his race and get the same protection of class that blacks would have?
I don't think you can change your race. I don't know.
You know, it's incredible how it's not even imaginable in our mind for a white man to become black, but for a man to become a woman, it's totally normal. Like, isn't that crazy? How they're so indoctrinated that don't even see reality. Like, don't you see the contradiction? This guy can never be black, and a man can never be a woman. That's it. It's not that difficult. It's not rocket science, okay? But these low IQ liberals are always so weird, man.
I don't think there's any mechanism for it. You can, I don't know if you know this, but on your ID, you can, if we're we're just talking like legal stuff, right? So if we're talking about like, if you change your, you can actually change your ID to say that you're female. And then you are able to get certain, like, if we're talking about like grants that maybe like people can get from being or tax breaks or whatever for being women-owned business. Which again, I don't necessarily agree with affirmative action to begin with. So I don't really know how much that you think that's a gotcha. But like, I personally don't necessarily even have a very strong feeling about that affirmative action is positive. I'm kind of on the fence about it personally.
Well, whether it's positive or not, try to understand why this is analogous. Because you're saying to me that gender is an identity.
But you keep saying what I think, and I don't think that, because I don't really like affirmative action to begin with.
You just said gender is a form of identity.
Yes,
it's self-ID. So it's self-ID.
Self-ID? Is that like a
yes? It's how you identify yourself. That's what gender is. Sure. Okay, so how come race, which is a form of social construction, is also not interchangeable as a self-ID?
Because I don't think that people of different races have any, generally like intrinsic differences outside of cultural ones, of course.
Well,
yeah. So then if that's true, why couldn't you just identify as being that race because it makes you feel better and be treated as though you're that race?
I mean, you could. That'd be I just don't know what the treatment would be different. If you wanted to identify as black, what do you think? How would your life be different?
So here's how your life.
Is it just because you want to say the N-word, or what? Like, how would it change?
It would be completely different. The things that you could qualify for from the state would be totally different. Affirmative action would be totally different. All of these things would be totally different. The same as if you in your case, you say if you identify as a woman, you can go into Nina. Don't ask me a question, and then 2 seconds into the answer, you cut in. Just relax a second. Same thing as if a woman or a man decides he wants to go into women's locker rooms and self-IDs as a man, suddenly has the extended courtesy that he can just go and shower with women and this kind of thing. Okay, so you're saying that, hey, none of that matters. It's all just a conceptualization of self-identity. It's like, well, obviously it's not just a conceptualization of self-identity, because if that's the case, then you'd have to bite the bullet on race.
I don't feel like I'd have to do that. Because, okay, so...
Can Alex get affirmative action if he walks around in blackface, Nina? Can he get affirmative action if he puts on blackface and gives himself cornrows and says I'm black?
That's an interesting point to bring up, because does Alex identify as black? Let's play into what you're saying. Does he identify as black?
Yeah, but let's assume he did.
Okay, but does he?
No, I'm sure he doesn't. But who cares?
Okay, then so it doesn't really track now.
I identify as Asian, actually.
Okay, but you don't.
Sure.
But I think that's what a lot of people like you guys like mixed up a little bit with
operating within the world of he is, though. He is, for the sake of this hypothetical, we're just going to assume that he is.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, I think that there's a lot of subtlety there with, if you're really going to talk about, like, it depends. Like, I'm half Japanese and I'm half white. Like, I could maybe identify more with one side. I identify more with my white side. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, is that like something that doesn't track like consistently. Like
Well,
I
no,
don't really
hang on,
think
it
at
does.
a certain level it really matters that much.
Let her finish her point.
Well, when she says, "Do you
Right, I did
think
ask a question.
X?" When she says, "Do you think X?" That's a question.
Right? Can you answer the question?
Yeah. So that both those things are pointing to biological structures, right? You are white and Japanese.
Biological. Okay,
Yeah.
so do you think that people are significantly biologically different the same way that men and women are biologically different of being different races?
I think that the significant standard's irrelevant. That if you're just going off of like a racial construction of certain clusters of people look very similar, and therefore they're treated in certain ways due to the similar lookingness or whatever.
And actually, it's even worse if she wants to go that route, because a black man has much more in common with a white man rather than a black girl. Because between man and man, there's far less differences compared to the differences between men and women.
In this
Right, but
particular
you're trying
case,
to relate that to race, right?
I'm trying to just relate it
trying
to
figure out where
self-ID.
you're at with this.
Just relating it to self-ID. So in this case, you just self-identified as half Japanese, half white. You don't believe that these are intrinsic biological categories, but rather they're social categories, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so then if that's true, and these aren't biological categories, they're just completely made up social constructions, why can't you identify as black?
Well, I don't really know what the reason to. This is why I'm saying, like, you need to know the reason behind it. Like, I don't like if you grew up around, like, again, like in a very black community, you could identify with that particular group significantly more, but that's not going to change your skin color. So, like, if we're talking about things
So
like
there's a biological element.
no, if we're talking about things like reparations and stuff like that, what we need to be addressing here is why were those things put in place? Why was affirmative action put in place? It was not to directly like, oh, because your melanin level is a certain level that you just get this like this grant or whatever. What we're really talking about is, oh, how were these people's ancestors treated, right? And I think that as we go on, this thing will not be as important as it is to be racially divided in the ways that we are right now. But I think that what you're getting caught up on is like these structures that already exist. For example, like, and again, I have mixed feelings on affirmative action, and we can absolutely talk about that if you want to, assuming Alex is okay with that. But I have very complicated opinions on that as well. But I don't think that this tracks directly one-on-one here when it comes to sex and gender, because I think that when we really talk about like race, like what does being black mean? What does being white mean? Like those then do become like a very socialized thing, which I think you're trying to get at with this, and that's fair. But I think that the subtlety, you're trying to be very simplistic about like, oh, you're all of a sudden gonna be like, oh, he can just like say the N-word. Like, what is identifying as black mean?
Right. Okay. So I think that's a fair question, kind of, but let me just dive into it so that you understand, right? If you want to get into kind of these nuanced distinctions. So let's start with, is thing X possible? Okay. So would you agree that it's possible for Alex to put on blackface and identify as being a black man?
It is possible for him to put on blackface. Yes.
And pretend to be a black man, right?
Is identifying or pretending? I think those things are actually completely different.
Fair enough. So he can identify as then being a black man, right?
Sorry?
So he can identify as being a black man, right?
Sure.
So the question is, does that make him one?
Does that make him a black person? Again, that really is, again, when I'm talking about subtleties, is what
this is pretty
a
subtle.
Black person who is very light, is a light-skinned person, a very, like somebody who looks like Alex, for example, who is half black. Is that person still black?
I think that socially they would be considered black. Sure.
You think socially that they would be considered black? So
Yeah.
the way that people would react to them was that they would just know that he was black.
Yeah, but I think that you have the case of Barack Obama to kind of fortify what I'm saying.
No,
here,
I'm saying
right?
that he looked like Alex. Is Alex?
Yeah.
he's
So now
black?
answer my
He
question.
might be black.
So now answer my question. Now that I've answered yours, if you pivoted twice, Alex, if he puts on
I didn't
blackface
pivot.
and identify as black, you said he can do that. My follow-up question is, does it make him black?
Okay, but No, this is what you're losing here. Okay.
Yeah, it's done. You got destroyed. Your logic is pathetic. I mean, even kids understand this. How can you not? Oh, wow. This was insane, guys. I mean, these people don't have logic. That was painful. I'm sorry for you guys. But guys, let me know in the comments what you think. If you agree or disagree, leave a like and subscribe if you want to. Christ is King, and God bless.